when I was there, more girls than boys passed the entrance exam. Now you tell me, how did those girls pass their entrance exams to qualify for university if they weren't educated? We were lied to so much about the Taliban, and as I say, I'm not a supporter of them, but I'm not going to go along with this propaganda that we were fed. Tony Blair told us these people are so evil they won't even let children fly kites. And during one session with my captors, I said, you people are so evil, you don't even let your children fly kites. And they looked at me, as Hamid translated, and they said the children can go out and fly kites, but not in towns and cities, because they get their kites caught up in the wires, and when they pull them, they get electrocuted. And I said, how can you get electrocuted when a piece of string falls into a wire? And they said, because in this part of the world, the children put wires in their kites to try and cut each other's kites up. It's a game that they play in that part of the world. So that's how they get electrocuted and die. And I just thought to myself, actually, I'd like to see how far I would get up Oxford Street in London with the Christmas lights flying a kite. I would be arrested and sectioned. You know, a crazy woman, take her away. So, you know, we have been fed a lot of lies, but it would be great if in your research that you can look more into this area, because the Afghan women have yet again been betrayed and sold down the river. There's an amazing organisation called RAWA, the Afghan Women's Association, and they brought the realities of what was happening in Afghanistan, and after years of being ignored, the Revolutionary Afghan Women's Association finally got a hearing from George Bush just before the bombing of Afghanistan, in which they were able to have a small opportunity where they could talk about the plight of Afghan women. And they were promised, yes, we're going in there, we're going to liberate these women, we're going to help them. And they were so happy until they realized that America and Britain was cutting a deal with the Northern Alliance, who RAWA said, hold on, they're no better than the Taliban. And then suddenly the window of opportunity shut, and we never hear of RAWA now. You know, where are they? Who's listening to them? It's a real tragedy. Right, how did my family react to the conversion? My mother's reaction was to start going to church again. And I said, well, that's great, because already Islam is having a positive effect on the family, and you're getting some spirituality back in your life. And my mother, her behavior in so many ways is Islamic. She doesn't drink, she leads a very modest life, she does everything with a balance. And I say to her, you know, Christianity is a great springboard to Islam. You've just got that little step to make. And she's in her 80s, and she said, oh, Yvonne, there's no way I'm getting involved at my age with some newfangled Arab religion. And I said, well, where do you think Jesus comes from? Manchester. And for the first time in her life, well, you know, he's portrayed in the churches as being a tall, blonde, blue-eyed guy. And for the first time in her life, she started to realize that the roots of Christianity are in the same soil as the roots of Judaism and Islam. So, you know, she's opening up a bit more. One of my sisters, who has no Muslim contacts at all thinks I'm going to go and blow myself up in a marketplace in Tel Aviv. My other sister lives next door to a Muslim family and has done for more than 20 years, and alhamdulillah, they're great neighbours. So it didn't come as a shock to her. In fact, she said they're really nice people, and if she's like my neighbours, then this is going to be fine. What happened to the guides? The guides were released. I couldn't say very much about my guides at the time because I was working behind the scenes to get them released, and I made several broadcasts on Pashtun radio to my former captors saying that you showed humanitarian kindness and compassion to me. Please show the same to the two men who you arrested, because I never did admit that they were the guides. I have been reunited with one of them, the one from the NWFP area, and I said, are you both angry with me? And they said no, it was written in our book, and of course they took a very Islamic attitude about their capture, and nobody was more happier than them when they heard that I had converted to Islam.
Last question.
Yeah, Justin, two questions, but they're pretty related. Just dealing with your captivity there, and do you think that your decent and honorable experience with the Taliban is representative of all prisoners? And with that, you mentioned that the women humanitarian workers were allowed to practice their faith in prison, but two Koreans this past summer were executed for practicing their faith in Afghanistan. So are people really allowed to do missionary or humanitarian work in Afghanistan without the threat of persecution?
I don't know about the executions. I know of the man who returned to Afghanistan who was locked up when he wanted to take his children away, and that was quite bizarre because there was a lot in the media about it, but none of the journalists seemed to ask why this man, who couldn't understand Arabic, had a Bible that was printed in Arabic. But anyway, he's very happy now. I understand he got a green card and he's here. I don't know about the two executions, and I'm surprised about that no pressure was put on Hamid Karzai, because nothing goes past his authority, without his say-so. So where were these executions? Has anybody else heard about it? I'm not doubting you, but I'm just wondering what your source is.
It was a pretty big thing this summer. It was a group of people from Seoul, Korea, and they were there.
Oh, sorry, the Christian hostages, yes.
Right.
Well, they weren't. I mean, there was a lot of different things going on there, but the majority were released. No, I mean, the rules changed, didn't they? I mean, thankfully, Abu Ghraib and Bagram and Guantanamo hadn't happened then. Otherwise, my treatment could have been very different. Because a new agenda had been set, or a new level had been, I don't know what the opposite is of going up, thankfully, I wasn't treated in a particularly bad way. I do know that the American girls, Heather and Dana, did pass on messages of thanks to Mullah Zaif, the Taliban ambassador in Islamabad.